Today is February 25th, 2023. The time is 11:09 a.m. And the title of this video is called Failed Foreign Policies. And we're going to begin in Kabul, Afghanistan. This is the area where the global war on terror began. This is a document, The Global War on Terrorism. The first 100 days is coming from the U.S. Department of State archive. On September 11th, terrorists attacked freedom. The world has responded with an unprecedented coalition against international terrorism. In the first 100 days of the war, President George W. Bush increased America's homeland security and built a worldwide coalition that began to destroy Al Qaeda's grip on Afghanistan by driving the Taliban from power. Disrupted Al Qaeda's global operations and terrorist financing networks, destroyed Al Qaeda terrorist training camps, helped the innocent people of Afghanistan recover from the Taliban's reign of terror, helped Afghanistan put aside long standing differences to form a new interim government that represents all Afghans, including women. And here's a letter. Here's August 31st, 2021. Remarks by President Biden on the end of the war in Afghanistan. Last night in Kabul, the United States ended 20 years of war in Afghanistan, the longest war in American history. In April, I made the decision to end this war. As part of that decision, we set the date of August 31st for the American troops to withdraw. The assumption was that more than 300,000 Afghan national security forces that we had trained over the past 2 decades and equipped would be a strong adversary in their civil wars with the Taliban. That assumption, that the Afghan government would be able to hold on for a period of time beyond military drawdown, turned out not to be accurate. But I still instructed our national security team to prepare for every eventuality, even that one. And that's what we did. So we were ready when the Afghan security forces, after 2 decades of fighting for their country and losing thousands of their own, did not hold on as long as anyone expected. We were ready when they and the people of Afghanistan watched their own government collapse and their president flee amid the corruption and malfeasance, handing over the country to their enemy, the Taliban, and significantly increasing the risk to U.S. personnel and our allies. This is my opinion of the situation. The United States foreign policy on the global war on terror failed. It was an epic failure. An epic failure. The whole objective was to drive the Taliban from power. And here we witness, it says, we were ready when they and the people of Afghanistan watched their own government collapse and their president flee, and the corruption and malfeasance, handing over the country to their enemy, the Taliban. Handing over to their enemy, the Taliban. The United States lost the global war on terror. They're in no position to advise Ukraine. The foreign policies that were used in Afghanistan were epic failures. We cannot afford to use those same foreign policies in Ukraine. So here's what President Biden had to say. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. You know, it was it was 1 year ago this week that we spoke on the telephone, Mr. President. It was very late at night in Washington, very early in the morning here in Kiev. Russian planes are in the air and tanks are rolling across your border. You told me that you could hear the explosions in the background. I'll never forget that. And the world was about to change. I remember it vividly because I asked you. I asked you next. I asked you, what is it there, Mr. President? What can I do for you? How can I be of help? And I don't know that you remember what you said to me, but you said, and I quote, gather the leaders of the world. Ask them to support Ukraine. Gather the leaders of the world and ask them to support Ukraine. These same global leaders were summoned up by George W. Bush. The world has responded with an unprecedented coalition against international terrorism, and they failed. Their objective was to rid the Taliban from power, drive the Taliban from power. And here, the country of Afghanistan handed over the people of Afghanistan handed over the country to their enemy, the Taliban. That's failure. The United States is in no position to give any country advice because our foreign policies are epic failures. If the objective of a 20-year war was to rid the Taliban, to drive the Taliban out of power, we failed. We failed miserably. The Department of Defense is impotent. The foreign policies that we used in Afghanistan will also fail in Ukraine. NATO nations. I want to let you here's a map of NATO nations right here. And these colors. These are NATO members right here. And I wanted you to look at the world population. Percentage, this is 2050. 2050. Percentage age 65 years or older. This dark blue is 15 or more. Look at this. NATO nations have aged out of existence. Look how many people are 65-year-olds are designated by this dark navy blue. Those are NATO nations. Canada, the United States, Germany, United Kingdom. These are NATO nations that have aged out of existence. There will be nobody around to fight their wars because they're all too old to fight. That is why President Dwight Eisenhower says, we must disarm and use our intelligence to resolve our conflicts. North America and Europe are aging out of this war stance. There's nobody left to fight your wars. People have outgrown this. We are physically aging out of the ability to fight a war. I'm going to leave it right there.